All right. Thank you guys so much for getting on with us tonight. And we have a very special guest. It happens to be one of my very best friends. And we actually just spent the last 4 days together at a training called World's Greatest Speaker. So no pressure, Dara.
Terrible timing.
She's a six-star diamond coach, two-time elite, Success Club 10 legend, and mom of four. And they're all young kids, two girls, two boys, and she's full-time home with them, but managing this business between raising these babies. And one of the things that we've always admired about her is that she cut out all the fluff of Beachbody. Like we would make all these pretty graphics, and she's like, well, I don't ever have slides for my calls. And yet she has still grown this incredible business, has one of the current top 10 coaches as a personally sponsored coach under her. And she does it with such, I don't know, great balance between her family and with work. And we spent the whole weekend bragging on the fact that we need more Dara in our lives. We need more calm and collected and balanced life. And so we're hoping during this call that she'll be able to share how she's been able to do that, to be a full-time mom and a part-time coach, but yet be successful in both. So I'll pass it over to you and you can take it away.
Thank you. I'm glad you passed it over. You were about to use all my content just in the introduction. So. Anyways, so I know a lot of us are parents on the call here, and I don't get, for instance, I remember, like you said, my kids' ages, Sienna, Price and Maddox are 4, and they're twins. Clear that up. My twins, Price and Maddox, are 4, and then I have an 18-month-old baby girl named Tessa. And I remember when I was about in that first 2 weeks of being postpartum with Tessa, a friend of my mom's came over to see me and do the whole visit, and we're sitting there and I'm holding Tessa, and she looks at me and she says, Dara, can you even remember what life was like before your children were born? And I smiled politely, and I was thinking about the pad I was wearing that was the size of a pillowcase. I was thinking about the fact that my boobs felt like marbles, yet they also had the ability to shoot milk like across the room. I was thinking about this like sheet of fog that I was living in from, being up all night. I was thinking about the fact that I hadn't even gone outside in, weeks, let alone fun, spontaneous day dates with my husband. So I thought about all that, and I looked at her and I said, yeah, I can remember what life was like before my kids, and it's looking really good about now. And I just say that to say, because parenting is hard, and I have never been shy about talking about that, about how being a full-time mom is one of the hardest things I have ever done and will continue to do. And that's what led me to Beachbody. Like many of your stories, I loved being a mom. I believe the biggest impact I can make is inside of my home, but there was just this desire to make an impact outside of my home as well. And that's where I found Beachbody. And again, I know that story is very similar to you, to many of you at least. So I love this topic because, like Lindsay said, I've just managed to do the business. When I started, my Sienna was 2 years old and the twins were 2 months old. This was January of 2014. And that's when I started this business. I was pumping exclusively for the twins. And my husband he's retired since, but was a professional baseball player at that time. So he was in and out of town. He even went to Mexico for 6 weeks during the first 6 months of my business. So that's how I started this business. And so I love this topic. All that to say, I really love this topic. I think it's, something that I have managed to figure out. So I'm excited to share that with you. But first, I really need to clear something up. And that is, being a part-time coach is different than being a hobby coach. And I know we kind of use some of those words interchangeably. I think I've even thought part-time hobby, same thing. It is not the same thing. Being a part-time coach means you still want to build a business. It means that, sorry, I had some notes because I want to make sure I said them all. It means you want to build a business, but you have a little less time to do that, so it's going to take a little longer to do that. It means that being a part-time coach does not mean that you have a smaller vision, does not mean that that you have to have a smaller vision. It doesn't mean you have to set lower goals. It doesn't mean that you don't get to dream big in this business. You still get to do all of those things, same as a full-time coach, but your timeline is just going to be different. And I wanted to make that distinction because I view a hobby coach as more just loves the products, and if someone happens to ask them about Shakeology, they might sell them something. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to make sure I made that distinction, because being a part-time coach is almost the same thing as being a full-time coach with different timelines. So I wanted to clear that up. And now there are really only 5 things that I wanted to talk to you about when it comes to being a part-time coach. And this first one is you have to prioritize your family first, whatever that looks like for you. I think prioritizing your family is going to be look different for everyone. For one mom, that might mean this. For another mom, that might mean that. It might mean prioritizing your spouse. Maybe you don't have kids yet, but whatever that looks like, you need to do that. I also love to draw a distinction between your life priorities and your business goals. They're not the same thing. So you need to figure out what your life priorities are, and then figure out what your business goals are. And you adjust your business goals to go with your life priorities, not the other way around. And I think often people get in this business and it takes over. And I really just want to make sure you cannot do that as a part-time coach. You have to have very set and clear boundaries. Have you guys ever had one of those days where you are just like, you killed the business? Your social media was on point. You sold some challenge packs. You were talking to people. You were bold. And you business-wise, you had a great day. But you told your spouse you didn't have time to talk to him after dinner. You were shooing your kids away all day when they wanted to play. You were impatient. Your fuse was short because you were doing work and they were bothering you. I have more days than I'd like to admit. And the business stuff didn't feel good when I knew that I had drifted so far from my priorities. I still wave my kids away sometimes. I'm not perfect, but those days where you're just so far off that the business doesn't feel good. And those are the days where you're like, oh my gosh, I need to quit the business. I was a horrible mom. Oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. Did you just see the way I talk to my kids? It's because of the business. It's because of the business. No, it's not. It's because you didn't set good boundaries that day. And so you have to keep your family first, because when you don't keep your family first, that's when you decide that something has to go and your family can't go anywhere. So the business goes. So in order to make this sustainable, you have to keep your family first. Actually, I had the opportunity to talk to Michael Neiman at Leadership a few weeks ago, and I've never had the opportunity to talk to him one-on-one. And I was just sharing my story. And just, I shared, man, it's still hard for me sometimes to figure out the mom life, work-life balance. And I don't think I always get it right, but I want this business, but I want to be a mom, just sharing it. And he really only said one thing, and he said it so gently and so softly. And he said, they're gonna grow up really quick. And that was all of the affirmation I needed. This is from Michael Neiman, the Michael Neiman, who wants me to build this business, who wants me to reach my business goals, who wants me to make Beachbody lots of money for them. And he just said, they're gonna grow up quick. And again, that was just all the affirmation I needed to know that my family had to stay my number one priority, no matter what. The second thing I want to talk to you about is owning your own journey as a part-time coach. This is one of my favorite it's a metaphor, but also a real story. When I signed up, I signed up with Lindsay, so there were a few other girls that signed up right at the same time, and we were all in the same challenge group together, and just in the same little training groups along the way. One of the girls that I signed up with was Bonnie Engel. Imagine how that would have been to have that constant, picture of what you could be doing in this business. And then there was me over here drowning in formula and milk. Hey, Bon. This is all good. Don't worry. But what a great man. We've all been there. We've all been there where you see the person that signed up with you, or that maybe it's your own success partner, and they seem to it's all working for them. And they're moving forward at a speed that you can not keep up with. And you want to start complaining. You want to say, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? You start getting jealous. You start getting resentful. You start getting discouraged. And I felt all of those things for sure. I'm not a robot. But I was able to quickly rein it in. And I realized I could choose to be jealous of the Bonnie Engels of this business, or I could choose to be inspired. How amazing was it that this girl was signed up when I did, and yet look at what she's done in just these almost 4 years now. I can't believe it's been almost 4 years, Bon. You could choose to be inspired, and that is a mindset thing, but you can choose that. And that's what I did. And also, you have to be honest with yourself. The whole, well, what am I doing wrong? I wasn't doing anything wrong. I just wasn't working as hard. I wasn't putting in as many hours as Bonnie was, plain and simple. And you know what? I didn't want to put in as many hours. And Lindsay Matway will tell you, I have always been yeah, I don't think I really want to work that hard for that particular goal. I'll work for this goal though, and just being honest about the work you're willing or able to put in. You have to own that. So you don't get to compare when you are choosing to be, or when all you can be is a part-time coach right now. And real quick, I meant to say this earlier. I am choosing to be a part-time coach. Despite my 4 kids, I have time. I could probably spend 2 to 3 hours every night after the kids go to bed and work this business. But I don't want to work 2 to 3 hours every night. So I'd work, 1 hour, and then I hang out with my husband. So that for me, I'm choosing to be a part-time coach. Some of you literally do not have the time to do this. So it's just all you can fit in. So anyways, when I make that distinction, that's all I mean. I'm choosing to be a part-time coach. Some of you have absolutely no choice to be a part-time coach. So that being said, you don't get to compare, you don't get to complain, and you don't get to be discouraged because things aren't happening as quickly as you want. I actually wrote down here, you have to manage your expectations. I hate the way that sounds, because it sounds like I'm saying, play small. It sounds like I'm saying, don't dream too big. It sounds like I'm saying, don't set too big of a goals. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, have realistic expectations about the timeline it's going to take to reach those goals. Don't play small. Don't lower your standard or your expectations of yourself, but you do have to have a realistic timeline, because it's just the way it is. Again, Bonnie was probably working quadruple the hours I was working. So when I say manage your expectations, that doesn't mean to not dream big. Okay. You knew I was going to get to the organization part, the time management part, right? Because you can't be a part-time coach and not be organized. And I know that not everyone is naturally organized. I know that not everyone has that gifting, but that's a weakness you're just going to have to work on, because you don't get to be a part-time coach and be disorganized. I just firmly believe that. Again, Lindsay, I know, Matt Way is, oh, you know, she's not probably the most organized person, and she would tell you that. But she is a full-time coach. So she kind of has maybe a little more flex time here and there, so that she doesn't have to be as organized as people like you and I have to be. So you have to get organized. And I don't mean you have to have perfect systems, because that will paralyze you from taking action. But just get organized and know what you need to do that month, that week, and that day. It really isn't that hard. I always had a non-negotiables list, and then I had the like, if I have extra time list. And that's how I worked. I don't have beautiful spreadsheets. I don't mean organized like that. I just mean know what you need to do and when you need to do it. And then when you have those pockets of time, other coaches have talked about power pockets, and I was like, that's what I was doing my whole first year of my business. Power pockets. The power hour was a laugh for me. I was exclusively pumping for my twins that first year. You guys know what that's like. You know what it's like to pump or let it breastfeed for one baby with twins and a 2-year-old. It was insane. So I literally would be like, okay, I have 20 minutes. Who did I need to follow up with? And I had that list already ready to go of those people I needed to follow up with. It is amazing what you can get done if you're prepared for that work time, and then you go all in during that work time. One of my favorite tips on organization in this business, don't reinvent the wheel. Especially now, the new coach office, I love the way the training section is set up. You can send a coach there and be like, go. That's all you need to do. Let alone the trainings on YouTube from Lindsay, from all of these coaches that just give. You know, from all these full-time coaches who make those training videos. Use their stuff. Use it. If you have a team, and this is something I am still learning for the record in my leadership style and what I need to be doing for my team, you should spend more time connecting with your team than training them, I think. Again, there are training resources out there. So if your decision that day is, should I spend an hour making a training or spend an hour talking to a few of my coaches, my opinion would be go talk to a few of your coaches. See where they're at with the training you gave them already. See how they're doing, how they're feeling. And I don't mean like, yeah, I think we should be the ones help them with their conversations. You know what I'm saying? Like help them figure out how to word stuff. That part is training, but it's more one-on-one. I'm talking about like, don't feel pressure to make these 10 video series trainings on becoming a new coach or how to be a new coach or whatever. Spend more time connecting with your team than training them. Obviously, you need to discern early on your business building activities and the difference between those and the things that you can spend so much time doing that's really not going to move your business forward. Lindsay mentioned the graphics. Guys, I suck at graphics. Before this call, she asked me, do you want to do Zoom or YouTube? I said, I don't care. I'm more familiar with Zoom. I don't have any slides, as you know, so it doesn't matter either way in that sense. I never have slides. It takes me so long to make slides, and they usually look like crap anyways. So I just don't do it anymore. I do have an assistant now. Remember, 3 years later, I got an assistant. And if you ever see a graphic that looks good, it's because she made it, not me. So again, for some of you though, your graphics might be your strength. You can whip those babies up and they get traction for you. Great. Keep doing your graphics, you know? But the point is focus on your strengths and don't spend time on the stuff that you're just not that good at and takes you too long. And again, focusing on business building activities. I feel like I forgot something, but if it comes to me, I'll just say it in the middle of something else. So, okay, number 4, Micah Folsom said this at Leadership. It's what I've always said, but I like the way she said it better. Do your crap. You can organize till you're blue in the face, but if you don't do it, you're not going to get anywhere. So I did make a list. If you're a note taker, this would be the time to take notes. These are the things I think you should be doing as a part-time coach daily. You have to read your vision and goals daily. Again, part-time coach does not mean you don't get to have big goals and big vision and big dreams in this business. I'm going to say that probably more, so get used to it. Read those daily. You don't get out of personal development just because you're a part-time coach. That is still a priority as a part-time coach. 10 to 30 minutes of personal development daily. Maybe that's the wake-up call on Monday. That's fine. That's personal development. Don't worry, the wake-up call's on this list too. Maybe it's audio. Maybe it's podcasts. I personally still just love to read. So reading is still how I usually like to do my best personal development. You don't get out of doing your workout just because you're a part-time coach. Do your workout, drink your shake, and keep trying other nutritionals. This is like a whole nother talk, but I was so that coach that was like, I've tried Shakeology and the fitness programs. I love the focused energy boost now. That literally is just as good as coffee in the afternoon. It keeps me going through the end of the night, getting 4 kids to bed. Imagine that. Anyways, keep doing the vitals, pressing play, drinking Shakeology, cleaning up your nutrition. I say cleaning up your nutrition because I don't eat that great all the time, but I'm a work in progress. These numbers are low-ish. So again, if you have more time, invite more people, but invite 1 to 3 people daily to join you on your journey. And now that is an actual invite. That isn't just a hey girl or and maybe that's invite coming from a follow-up. It doesn't have to be a brand new person. Hopefully you've been developing relationships already. Post on social media. Again, I say 1 to 3 times a day, but I think even as a part-time coach, that should be more like 3 times a day. With the intention, Moira said this, with the intention of entertaining, educating, inspiring, and those were her 3. And then I added connecting. I just loved those categories: entertaining, educating, inspiring, or connecting. That should be the goal of your social media on a daily basis. Not all of them every day, but on a daily basis. Listen to the National Wake Up Call and Bombshell Dynasty calls, guys. Again, I know these are the things you can be doing when you're blow drying your hair, doing your makeup. I know we've heard these little tips, but that is usually when I do them. The 1 time a week I'm doing my hair and makeup, I listen to the call. And sometimes I fall really behind on the calls, but I always catch up. I have that 1 week where I'm like, where did all this time come from? And I watch all these calls. But I have always credited these calls, the ones you're on right now, the National Wake Up Calls, with changing my mindset about this business. About 3 months in, I finally decided to stop tiptoeing, and I said, why not me? Why can't this happen for me? And that is because of listening to these calls, hands down. I needed to hear other coaches' stories. Lindsay's wasn't good enough for me. Her story alone wasn't enough to tell me that I too could do this. So listen to those calls. That's still non-negotiable for me. Contribute to your challenge group daily. You can't ignore your customers. You've got to check in with them. You've got to be a part of your own challenge group, whatever that looks like for you. Connect with your customers. And then this last one is, I actually added it last minute, but I think it's one of the most important things. Carve out time for you. As a part-time coach, you're not going to most likely blow up your business in one year. So you have to be in this for the long run. And if you're in this for the long run, you've got to make time for you. It's not sustainable if you're burning both. I'm totally forgetting the quote. You know what I mean. You can't burn out. Make time for you. For me, that's again that time with my husband after the kids go to bed. Yeah, burning the wick, burning the candle at both ends. That's my time for me. I'm not interested in working during that last hour before I go to bed. I just need time to unwind, watch a mindless, stupid TV show. That's how I do it. It might look different for you. Maybe it's 30 minutes is all you need to really feel refreshed. Maybe it's 10. Maybe it's an hour. But make that time for you, because that's what's going to keep you in this business. Again, just like when you feel like you're a bad mom and you suddenly need to quit the business, this one does too. I haven't been out with my girlfriends in 18 months. It's this business's fault. No, it's you. You didn't set good boundaries around the business. You know, I haven't watched my shows in weeks, so go watch a show. It's my opinion. Carve out time for you. It's going to keep you in this business longer. It's going to make you more relatable too. Okay, the last one. I don't know where I'm at on time. Oh, I'm good. Remain in a state of gratitude. You have to all the time. I never thought I would do what I have done, but I will not ever forget the first time I made $100 in this business. And I was like, it worked. This business worked. I feel that way with every single Thursday. Whatever amount of money is deposited in that bank account, I am just amazed every single Thursday, and you should be too. Even if there's not a paycheck there, you have to remain in a state of gratitude. As a part-time coach, again, it might take us longer. So you have to go back to your why. You have to reevaluate your why more often, maybe. So do that. Remember that this is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be fun. I remember, again, I've lost sight of that. Remember at last year, I had a huge push for Elite and I made it, but it was one of those things where I pushed, it was like, that really wasn't that much fun. Like, what happened? This was supposed to be a part-time job. This was supposed to be a side hustle, yet it had consumed me. Remember that this is supposed to be fun, and I don't know how you are going to make it fun for you again. Maybe it's a fun challenge group. Maybe it's recommitting to a new program you've never done. Maybe it's doing UV2 instead of Insanity Max for a few weeks. Make this business fun for you again. And you have to trust the process. This is one of my favorite things to say, because I have missed so many goals. I've let myself down so much. Bring the joy. That's right. I've let myself down so much. I have had doubts and fears, and I've just ultimately chosen to trust the process. Choose to believe what Lindsay has been telling us all this time. Choose to believe what your coach has been telling you all this time. Choose to believe what I'm telling you tonight. Trust the process. There's going to be so many downs and so many ups, but you have to trust the process and kind of stay here. Celebrate the small wins along the way. As part-time coaches or as coaches who aren't making a lot of money yet, it's always, well, I don't know how to share about income. This is a little off topic, but I just firmly believe that an extra $100 a month actually means so much to a lot of people. And you can't be afraid to share some of those things. Or again, getting on these calls, does that fill you up every week? Talk about that. There are so many small wins along the way that you need to make sure as part-time coaches, when our journey might be a little longer, with a little less, a lot of, huge highs, you have to celebrate the small wins along the way. I remember something I needed to say early on. I told Lindsay, stay this. This kind of goes with the organization stuff and do your crap stuff. I don't think I have done anything extraordinary in this business, but I have been extraordinarily consistent. You have to be consistent. I know you hear it, but that is my story to a T. That is why I'm here in front of you today, because it's consistency. Despite the 3 kids and the surprise 4th baby we added in 2016, by the way. Forgot to talk about her too much. But that is why I'm here, is consistency, unwavering consistency. So in closing, I have days where I am overwhelmed and stressed. And I do wonder. I have to admit, I wonder, I'm like, what would it be like to just wake up and all I had to do was figure out where I wanted to take my kids today to go on an adventure so we didn't kill each other inside the house? What would it be like to just never have that pressure of Success Club or Elite? And there's a part of me that's like, oh, that kind of sounds nice. And then I remember how I felt when I didn't have goals, when I wasn't trying to hit Success Club, when I was pushing for nothing, when I had nothing that was motivating me daily, when I didn't recognize myself in the mirror anymore, and not just my physical self, but my mind, my heart, my soul. Ooh, I just got chills. I know I'm the one doing it, so I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but I have to remember that part too. When I think about how hard this business is, or how stressful or how overwhelming this business is, I think about the person I was when I wasn't overwhelmed and I wasn't stressed and I was boring. I was lazy. And I don't mind saying that because I was. My husband will affirm. I had just become someone I didn't recognize because I had no vision anymore, no passion. And Beachbody is what gave that back to me. Beachbody helped me find my voice again. So if you're having those days when you're just like, it's too much, I'm overwhelmed, I don't have time, first of all, maybe you just need to take an hour off and refresh and recharge. But you also have to remember the other part of what your life was like without Beachbody. So that's it for me.
Okay, dang. I know that I probably am feeling what everybody else is, but that last part, you just nailed it. Like, that's exactly what we all have to get back to, is remembering beforehand what we felt like, what made us want to make these changes to start. Because you're so right. It's so easy to focus on the overwhelm and the things that are like, it's just too much. But it is so true. And all of us have become like who we're called to be. And there's no greater feeling than to be living your purpose and to feel like you're pushing yourself forward in a positive direction. And I think too often we only look at it as rank or income and what Beachbody or coaching can offer someone. And Jill nailed it in the comments. She said, I was just lonely. And that was so me. I know you had a great, group of girlfriends. I didn't have girlfriends. And, guys, this past weekend, we went out with the five of us to California. We laughed so hard, we cried. I mean, to have those friendships, and none of us would be friends without this thing. And I know that so many of you guys have formed these amazing friendships, and maybe you haven't just yet, but maybe you have that possibility as the more connected you become to this and the more you open yourself up to being able to share your truth with other members of this team or this family. That is the beauty that you are offering someone. So whenever I'm thinking about it, I'm not just thinking about the money. I'm also thinking about the connection and the feeling of living in your purpose, or to have something more to contribute to the world. And I was just a mom, and I love being a mom. And, I know that you do too.
Yep.
But it can be lonely when you're at the time I started, a 1-year-old doesn't really talk, and you're in your house by yourself, and you're kind of just going through the motions and enjoying being a mom. But you need to know who Lindsay is and who Dara is and who Jill is. And that is just such a gift. So thank you so much. And just so you guys know, I know that we were talking hours. People were asking what my schedule was and stuff. I do work an extreme schedule, and I especially did previously. Dara and I were talking about, I finally have slowed down a little bit because I found a good pace to go out again. But Dara is a 6-figure earner in this business, and she still works part-time. And so I don't want anyone to think that you have to be at Bonnie and I's pace to be successful. But at the same point, you can't expect to go at our pace in the same amount of time because we're putting in more work. So it's just dependent on the sacrifices that you're willing and wanting to make. And I think that too often the reason why people get burned out is the line gets blurred, and they think if they just get there faster, they'll be happier. But truly, you have to enjoy the journey. Thankfully, most of the time, I really did enjoy the journey. My back was against the wall and I needed this to work. But I really find that, Dara, you've enjoyed the journey, and going your pace has paid off, and now you guys do have the freedom, and it's grown strong, and it's a really solid foundation. So don't feel like because you started with somebody who is now further along than you that you can't get to where they are. It just will take a little bit more time, like she said. And I think that's so important to consider. Somebody said, Dara, what would you consider a realistic timeline for you? It depends on what your goal is. Can you be more specific on what you're talking about?
Yeah. I told her she could message me after, or if she wants to answer here, that's fine too.
Okay, cool. But yeah, I think that was really important. And I hope that this resonated with you guys to let you know that there are multiple ways to build this business. And I love the clarification you had between being a part-time coach and being a hobby. They are not the same thing. A part-time coach is just the same as a full-time coach, doing the same activities, just not as many of them. And all Bonnie is doing, guys, just so you know, if there's some of you guys that want to go faster, she's just inviting more. You know, she's just doing more of the stuff that Dara gave you in the list, and adding to her social media faster, you know, more people. So don't think there's some secret activities that we're not sharing with you guys. It literally is the same activities. It's just more of it. So if you want to move faster, don't invite 3 or 1 to 3 a day, invite 6 to 10, invite 10 to 20, you know, depending on what pace you want to go. But also know that you have to be able to connect with those people personally too. You can't just spam message 50 people. It doesn't work like that. So there's also a limit on how many you can connect to and still be able to have real solid relationships.
Yeah, and I should have clarified, in that list I gave, that didn't really include the adding to your network and connecting. That should definitely be part of your power hour in some ways, although I've found that those are kinds of the things I can do if I am just scrolling. You know, I can be like, oh, I'm going to add that person, or I'll just send her a quick, hey, saw that picture, you know. So I think in that focused power out, you know, that's like, you need to be inviting if you're doing anything, but you still need to be connecting, adding people to your network. Oh, dang, there was one more thing too. Anyways.
And also check out her social media. She does a really good job of sharing pieces of her life. And I think that as moms sometimes, especially those of you who might be stay-at-home moms, we think our lives are really boring and there's nothing to talk about. But she does such an amazing job of just sharing the different aspects of momming. And it's always really, really fun to watch. So I would highly suggest following Dara. All right, guys. Well, we are at 9:38, or 9:38 Eastern time. So thank you so much for being on, Dara. Amazing job. Perfect content. And we will see you guys again next Monday.
Bye, guys.